Welcome to this video. The idea is to share with you elements of context and description regarding the next 2022 Architecture Student Contest by Saint-Gobain. As you know, the task will take place in Poland, in its capital city, Warsaw. We wanted to give you as far as possible a flavor of Warsaw for those who don't know yet the city. Thanks to drone views, we want you to visualize the city, its atmosphere, and the district where the task will be. As you can see here, Warsaw is a city crossed by an imposing river, the Vistula. What you see here is the royal palace of the city, with the skyline of recent skyscrapers in the background, shaping the business district. So you see here the left bank of the Vistula. There we go to the right bank of the Vistula where the task will take place. The history of this part of Warsaw, commonly known as Praga Polubnie or Praga, goes back several centuries ago. The first settlement and villages in today's Praga Polubnie began to emerge in the 11th century. This included Kamion, today named as Kamionek. Praga Polubnie is divided into several different neighborhoods, dominated by the former village of Groszów, a city from the 15th century. Industry began to develop here after 1945. In addition, the once heavily industrialized historic settlement of Kamionek, known as the pre-war Silicon Valley, lies within the borders of the district. There used to be numerous military, technical, for instance the first Polish cars came from Kamionek, but also electro-technical and food processing plants, as well as a printing house. But the most important historical event that took place here was the first free election held in 1573. Praga Polubnie is characterized by rich greenery. The park Skarizewski, along with the lake known as Jeziorko Kamionkowskie, is sometimes called the most beautiful park in Poland. Kamionek is home to the largest, over 80 hectares, green area in Praga Polubnie, including this wonderful park. The Wedel Chocolate Factory and the Pośniewski Theater are located on the shores of this lake Jeziorko Kamionkowskie. The University of Social Sciences and Humanities was founded in this area, and the seat of the Sinfonia Varsovia Orchestra is also located here in former buildings of the Veterinary Institute. The largest development completed in recent years in Kamionek is of course the PGE Narodowy National Stadium, which opened in 2012, and which you can see here. The district also includes an artistic enclave of greenery, Saska Kepa, with its villas typical of the 20s and the 30s. There are also many embassies which are located here. The residential buildings in Praga were not significantly damaged during World War II. Maintaining the so-called green wages is crucial to the comfort of living in the city. And this district, Praga Polubnie, so the place of the contest task, is lucky to be located directly on the river, which is a natural air corridor. The task of this 17th International Saint-Gobain Architecture Student Contest is to design the revitalization of an area located next to the Warsaw East railway station, through a combination of social activation and residential functions. To introduce it, we've interviewed Ewelina Lang, working for the Praga Polubnie district.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kamionek, an extremely interesting part of Warsaw, which is part of Praga Polubnie district. It was here that the first free election took place, during which the Polish nobility elected the king. Kamionek is home to the famous Wedel confectionery factory and Park Skaryszewski, one of the most beautiful parks in Europe. Kamionek is known as the pre-war Silicon Valley, and it hosts numerous industrial plants and many unique buildings can be found here, such as the Josef Rosenthal factory Metallic, which has been entered into the Register of Historical Monuments. Pearls in the crown of our district, such as Sinfonia Varsovia Orchestra, the PGE Narodowy Stadium, or the artistic neighborhood of Saska Kępa, attract more and more young people, providing them with a good place to live. We are sure that the students' works will help to create such a place here. Therefore, I invite you to learn about the details of the competition.
So, as you understood, the task takes place on a 14,000 square meters plot around this old factory building. It will be a mix of renovation and new build in this area. We have divided this plot into 4 different zones with different requirements. Let's start with the zone A. In this zone A there is this factory building on the street Berka-Jorzelewska. This old factory was built in 1904. At first, it housed Josef Rosenthal's factory, where white tin plates was manufactured. In 1919, the business profile was completely changed, and a tannery was opened there. One building survived the war and was converted into a car workshop and warehouse in 1947. The production building consists of 2 main sections. The first 1-story building, with 13 axes, is currently plastered and partly extended upwards. The windows, with mountain bars typical of industrial architecture, are closed with segmental arches, while the last 3 axes have gated entrances. The building is subject to the protection of the conservation officer. Its intended new function is to create a place serving the residents in the form of a community house, with a place intended for meeting, for cultural events, leisure activities. The suggested function include workshop, exhibitions, creative space, and a place for the headquarters of association, counseling service, or even foundation. Revitalization of the old factory building must take into account the conservation officer guidelines, which we will get very soon. Please also know that extension could be also possible. And regarding the buildings on the left side of the factory, it might be for demolition. This old factory is about 41 meters long and 10 meters large. In this zone A, the maximum height of development is 18 meters and the maximum density allowed is 70%. On the other side of the street, we can see a training permanent center for professionals, as long as the old factory. Let's have a look now at the zone B1 on Friska Modrzewieckiego. This is the zone B1 and all the current buildings will be demolished. The current zoning plan allows for the construction of multi-family housing. In this zone B1, the maximum height of building is 16 meters and the maximum density allowed is 70%. Let's go now to the zones B2 and B3 on Lubelska Street. Today, as you can see, it's a big green field, also for the construction of multi-family housing. Here the maximum height of building is 25 meters and the permitted maximum density is 100%. You can see here on the other side of the street the railway station. In zone B3, there are old buildings on the other side on the street, around 25 meters high. Here, some residential space for students can be provided in this zone B3 and B2. The following assumption should be made for designing these purposes. The number of dwelling units should be around 250, of which 220 single rooms with bathroom and kitchenette, around 12 square meters, and 30 double rooms with bathroom and kitchenette, around 23 square meters. Within these buildings, there should be also shared space, which should, for instance, include reception desk with a small refreshment area, work and chill area where students can meet, a laundry room, bike room, for instance. Well, that was in a nutshell the descriptions of the district and the plot of the contest. Thank you for your attention.